Hi, we're here today with Brian. Welcome, Brian. Thank you for joining us. Tell us
Hi,
your name.
thanks. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a filmmaker, actor who lives out in LA right now, but originally from Pittsburgh. And I'm just like so many actors, just trying to find that next opportunity. And when I can't find it, I try to make it. I'm also a husband and a father, and a special education teacher, and a former Peace Corps volunteer.
Okay, and Brian Silverman is your full name.
Brian Silverman.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. So, what made you want to be a filmmaker? How did that come about?
Well, like I said, with regard to I was originally drawn to acting, and shockingly, people weren't busting down my doors to put me in in films. And so I did a film with a friend that was a feature film called After We Leave. It was with Aleem Hussein, and Julie Cookroyd was the cinematographer, and it was great. We had a really fulfilling time making it, and then Aleem put that film together, and it was fantastic. And I didn't want to go back to only. There's nothing against anybody who like myself who are jogging for those 5 line roles, but I didn't want to go back to only that. And so I thought about, what's the story I want to tell? And I've done some writing before, and some directing with minor stuff, and then of course plays and things of that sort. So I said, hey, why don't I try to give it a shot? And it worked out.
Very cool. So, how long have you been doing this, and how many films have you made?
So I've been acting, I guess, full throttle for 25 years or so. And as far as making films as an actor, uh, you know, I don't know the number, but there's a lot. But uh, a lot of them, fortunately, no one will ever see. And then a lot of them, are in those, the kind of short film world where it gets difficult to see. Unfortunately, and I'm sure you experience this too. Um, there's so much content out there, so much, beautiful feature films and short films. But after it gets off the circuit, it's really tough to find. So there's been a lot in there, and the same thing with like little smaller roles on TV. Uh, but as far as bigger roles, I had that one feature with After We Leave, and that's what most of us as actors want to do is put ourselves out there in something more significant, more meaty, kind of reflecting the plays that we're able to do when we're not doing film that fulfill that that acting desire to explore and inhabit. Um, and, and yeah, so the opportunities weren't as great as I wanted, and so like I said, uh, sit down with the computer and start typing.
So, when you first went to somebody, your family and friends, and said, "Hi, I'm going to be a filmmaker. I'm going to be an actor." What was that conversation like? Did they like all look at you and go, "What are you, psychotic?" Or like, "Yeah, go for it if that's your dream." Which way did that
you
go?
know, it's interesting. Certainly, I think a lot of the pressure was on myself, even before I said anything. I just wasn't from a family that did that. I was from a family that people became doctors and lawyers and business owners and such. Um, and so I avoided it for a long, long time. I dipped my toe into it, maybe do some improv, take a class, uh, but try to convince myself that this wasn't what I was supposed to do. And um, I remember the when I went to the Peace Corps, where I'm standing, and this was I'm 23, I think, and I'm talking about it then with a friend, like, yeah, maybe when this is over, maybe I'll try to go out to California and try to try acting. And then when Peace Corps ended, there was that anxiety and fear of doing that. Um, so I avoided it well into my 30s, until I I couldn't anymore. I was on this job coaching kind of session, and after when I was in grad school, and it was right at the very end of grad school, and it was coaching up for an interview for a great job, an enviable job, and the woman who's coaching me looks at me and says, what do you want to do?" Uh, and I'm supposed to want to do what I'm,
Right.
you know, applying for. And I said, "Well, I would really, want to be an actor." And she's like, "Well, then you can't do this. You can't go for this job interview. You can't do any of these things, right? You'll be miserable." And it's not that I hadn't thought about that before, but that was a final linchpin to say, okay, I have to go do this. And I had been doing plays all through grad school. I'd been doing improv for 3 years with Improv Boston, and it was an inevitable push to say, all right, whatever anybody says, however anybody reacts, um, I'm going to live a life of misery if I don't go for it.
Yeah. And what did your family say?
By that time,
Were you married
they
by
were all
then?
right.
Yeah.
By that time, they were all right. Like I wasn't married yet. My family and friends were like, okay, this has been in your sphere for a long time. So go do it. And whether they thought I was going to be getting out of my system or not or whatever, uh, you know, they were fine. And then I was an actor already when I met my wife, and so she's never known me outside of that pursuit. And like I said, my day job is as a special education teacher, so I get the fulfillment that way of of having another aspect of my life with something I like to do. I don't know if I have the disposition to uh, to live the life that so many do of only doing the acting. It's a very challenging lifestyle, um, and maybe that affects the pursuit or the roles I get. But again, it's kind of knowing yourself, and I think I'd be a little bit nuts or crazy or unhappy if I was only doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hear you. All right. So you're in LA. So do you have your tribe, your support group of filmmakers around you, your go-to people
yeah.
to see?
So I've had that, and it is great, right? Having those group of people, and it shifts over time of who those people are. Being in theater companies. Originally, it was with Vox Humana, and it was uh, just this big group of actors, and we do plays, and have that theater company for years. Currently, I'm with this group called the Collaborative, and it's a group of kind of multi hyphenates, right? So it's actors who are, I think, for the most part, primarily think of themselves as actors who also write and direct and create in all kinds of different ways. Um, and it's a massively talented group of people um, who are constantly, uh, we as a group, we have classes that we put on. Sometimes they're kind of straight kind of acting or auditioning classes, or working with casting directors or producers or directors, and sometimes they're more craft. So we're dealing with the actor's craft, and then oftentimes they're about production, about writing, or about editing, or pitching, or fundraising, and we all lean on each other uh, to make a lot happen with that. And so that's fantastic. That's been great. And they're actually, the Collaborative is an associate producer on my film, because one of the things that we do is we provide production insurance. Like insurance for whoever, you submit your film, you submit your cast, you submit it all to the board, and then that takes a big burden
Mhm.
off of production when you can get that insurance to cover the shoot.
Yep, it does. Okay.
Yeah,
So Two Lives, One Pittsburgh. That's the name of the movie. So what made
Two
you,
Lives in Pittsburgh.
and
Yeah,
Two Lives in Pittsburgh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
made you decide to make this film? Like, how did that happen? Did this part
Yeah. So this
about?
there's a couple different kind of tentacles that reached in to make me really interested in this. And so this is probably I started probably writing back in 2016ish or so. And I haven't talked about this one too much, but one of the things was, and I don't know if you're a football fan or if you remember this, but I forget which draft. I think it was the 2015 draft, and Michael Sam uh, came out during the draft, and he was the first openly gay um, player, right? Either draft pick or player in the entire NFL. And I just thought it was remarkable. And not just the NFL, but I think in all of professional sports. There might have been a basketball player that came out right about the same time as him. Um, and there had been people that come out after their career, but nobody during their career. And so I just thought really like in all of professional sports, nobody has been able to come out of all of the main four professional men's sports. Nobody's been able to come out. And and then there's this thing where I had the thought that probably the majority of America, but certainly a huge plurality of American sports fans, probably thought that that was actually true. I think a lot of people, sat watching the sports or sat in their garage talking with their buddies or at the bar, and are like, yeah, there just aren't gay people in sports, right? Or there's none of that in sports, and to me, that's kind of a funny, willful ignorance. So that was one thing that it was, and then uh, another part was uh, was wanting to model something because I had already started messing around with ideas, modeling something after Kramer versus Kramer or in Tootsie, right? I'm a kid of the '80s and I love Dustin Hoffman movies, and so I wanted that. I think Dustin Hoffman in Kramer has that thing where he redefines. He's forced to redefine what a man, husband, father is and does, right? And that was that change that was, I think, happening at the time through the rise in the normality of divorce, where fathers had to start understanding that they weren't just coming home and grabbing a vodka tonic and a cigar and being done with their day. They had to be caregivers too. And then the third prong really was the rise in kids' exploration of gender. And I, being a teacher, I had a kid who it was very clear to most of us that this kid was undergoing something. Now, whether it was sexual or gender was still, only the kid is going to know, but there are certainly a lot of clues. Um, and it came from a traditional, Catholic family with really wonderful parents. But I know, once the kid came out as trans, it was challenging for them, and there were good people who were facing that natural challenge of this isn't how we planned it. There's no guidebook on how to do this, and so kind of those three things tangled together to lead me towards this story of a regular working class guy who has to struggle through without having the background or the understanding, have to struggle through what do I do if as my kid is you know exploring their gender identity.
Okay. So I guess my next question is
Yeah.
what's the hardest part and what was the most fun part of making this movie? Usually they're the same. So I asked those two questions together.
It's I think making films is a little bit like what women tell me about childbirth, where there's all that pain, but something happens that once the child's born, that you kind of forget about the pain and just remember, oh, yeah, I like that. That was good. I got a baby out of that. So let's go back and do it again. And uh, and so I think some of the pain or the hard parts diminish. I'll tell you one part that was challenging was we had to swap an actor pretty late, and I wouldn't say that like it was a total blessing, but in an indie film, there's all kinds of things I don't understand, all kinds of things that I don't know, and they're emerged this kind of gripe about something right before they started shooting, right before they were supposed to fly out to Pittsburgh, and so we had to swap somebody out, and it really could have been devastating um, to the film, and it was certainly devastating to us as a team. This was a weekend, we're getting ready to shoot this scene the next that on that Tuesday, and we take off on Sunday and Monday, and all of a sudden, like on Sunday, it drops that they're done, they're out. So we had to swap somebody in basically like 2 or 3 days. Um, so that was hard. That was definitely a lot of pain involved, and it ended up being great, right? It totally benefited the film. I'm sure there was a lot of other parts that were hard, uh, but I'll tell you one of the most joyful things about the film was uh, was the camaraderie on set. Like we knew I had a really strong production team. It was me and my producer Lola No, and then cinematographer Tiffany Murray, and we did a lot of prep work together, and we wanted this set to be a place where people love to come, right? We know we're not paying all that much, but we're paying everybody. We know that we're on a tight schedule, but we're not going to push overtime. We're not going to exploit people's time and effort. Uh, and we had a set that everybody was happy to come to, right? And they got to explore their work a little bit more. Like most people were taking that level up in their jobs, so you know every was a lot of people who were doing their job like production designer or cinematographer were doing it for their first time as the lead, you know um, of their department on a feature film. Uh, and so just seeing people, bite into that opportunity and bite into those challenges. Uh, and then when we get to the end of the week, and, usually by the time we were wrapping the week, we do something, I could call it special. Now, it's not special for a regular film set where you're getting lobsters and crabs and everybody, all this stuff every day, but like we'd grab a couple cases of beer and some, you know, something special from Pittsburgh, some pizza or, whatever, and just everybody on that last day be able to celebrate the week, um, and hang out together. And that was really special. That was really wonderful. So that's something that was super meaningful.
All right. All right. So are you the kind of filmmaker that you finish a film and you sit there and okay, that baby is gone. It's
Mm.
gone. It's over there. Or you're the type of filmmaker that sits there and looks at your films and says, someday I'm going to get enough money. I'm going to redo that film because I can do it better. Which way are you? What type are you?
Oh no, I'm not redoing that film. No, yeah, I'm so happy with it, right? Like
Yeah.
I am the type of filmmaker, and I know that this happens. There's some filmmakers that are, and I think this is amazing, right? It's kind of like the Roger Corman style where they're just gunning, right? And they make it, and they edit it quick and it's done and they're on to the next, right? And that's remarkable. And I love that. And I'm not really that either. I sit with it for a little bit longer time um, and ruminate a little bit. But I'm not going to remake this one because I think we did. I love looking at it. I love the audience reaction. I love what we have. Even the things I would change. I think the things I would change aren't really from the production or the directorial point of view. point of view. It's more about my fragility as an actor, and it would be mostly my little things within my scenes. But as far as everyone else's work, and even most of my own work, and the way it came out, now it was great.
All right, so in the indie world, we all know
Yeah.
that we're never going to become rich and have the private jets and jet from Asia to see our boyfriend play in Kansas City. We're just not going to be doing that. So, what would you call success in the indie film world? What does success look like?
It's a great question because yes, it's easy uh, to get caught up in the money, or the getting the money getting the money back, making your money back, which is a really hard thing to do now. Um, and so I'll tell you what I thought of as success when we first went out on the circuit, and what I thought of as success, what I really wanted to do was just be able to travel around the country with my film, uh, at festivals and with people, and talk to other filmmakers, and have my film live in that world with other independent films, and you know having a couple beers or going to other movies with all those kind of filmmaking,
Mhm.
acting, production peers. That I thought uh, that was a goal, right? Uh, and a lot of that happened, and I love that. I think it's so, just like your film festival. It's so uh, meaningful to watch films together and to be in that community, and so that's a huge aspect of success. Um, and uh, Now that we're kind of done with the festival circuit, uh, and we're moving. We have distribution, and we'll be, you know, for sale and rental in October. Now it's, I guess, just eyeballs, and being able to have this film be seen, right? The money's not going to come back. Maybe it will decrease, how much it actually cost if we get a couple of bucks here and there. But it's having it be seen and hopefully talked about and explored and discussed. And I don't know how I get to participate in that. I'm not sure. Sometimes maybe there'll be, people will, you know, send stuff or critique it or make fun of it or celebrate it and whatever. And I think, that'll be really wonderful. Um, and I guess that's success. And then the other part of success, I guess, is learning how, as a filmmaker, how to uh, keep doing it. And you've been through this for all these years. Maybe you have, well, not maybe, you definitely have a greater understanding of how you keep on going, right? And how you keep on making
Stay
that next
stupid.
project. Just stay stupid. There was there is that yeah, with success. There's that old phrase, and I've always heard it about theater, but it's the same for independent film, and it's the best way to make a small fortune in independent film is uh to start with a large fortune and then make an independent film. Yeah.
That's true.
It's true.
All right, so my last question. So, what
Yeah.
advice would you have for someone who comes to you and says, I'm thinking about making a film. I'm going to be a filmmaker just like you, Uncle Brian. What would that conversation be like? How would that go?
I guess it all depends on who's doing it, but the first thing is to write a great script, right? Write a great script, give it to a lot of people, because all those notes are going to not tell you how to change it, but they're going to tell you where people are finding, you know, inconsistencies, right? And so you have to just listen to those comments so that you're starting off with a really strong idea, right? A really, something you're really passionate about, something you're really uh, sure about as a script, something that again you could look at depending on your budget and say, okay, I can make this for cheap, or if you have too much, you say how can I make this scene, maybe as vibrant or more vibrant but less expensive. And maybe the other thing I'd say is, boy, lean into your horror vision, right? Because you're probably you might have a little bit more success with that. Um, but you just have to, just go and do it. Go and do it, and get a good team. I'll tell you, um, if I can, because I haven't talked about it too much, but I think another thing I'd say is grab that team and really lean into other people's expertise. I haven't talked about editing that much, but I can oftentimes tell when a filmmaker edits their own film, because they hang on to, they say that there's three stories, right? There's the script, there's the story that happens when you're actually shooting, and then there's the edit. And so having somebody else as the editor, and then having my production team also give feedback on the edit, uh, lets everybody um, bring their skill and their expertise to it, where so that it just makes your product better, right? That's the thing about film; it's so collaborative. And maybe some people aren't quite that way. You always hear Tarantino is kind of like seems to be very in charge of what his vision. But for me, lean into the collaboration of it and let other people's expertise make the project better. I would tell them that too. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's it for my questions. I don't know if you have any final words or thoughts about filmmaking or what's next or anything.
The only thing I say, and this goes back to what success was with regard to the festivals, is I think the other thing to do as a filmmaker, as an actor, and as a film lover is go to all these festivals. Just go and support. It's so easy. It's so relatively easy to to see fantastic films by going to the festivals that are all over the country now. And so often people don't know that they're there, and they're stuck in, you know, uh, the bigger films, or the big streamers, and a lot of them are great, and I love them too. But boy, there's something special about hanging out at a festival and seeing, talking to the filmmaker and talking to other filmmakers and seeing films that you just don't get to see without, hunting them down. That's what I would suggest.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. And it was great
Yeah.
talking to you.